Welcome. Happy New Year. Welcome in 2021. We did it. Welcome to the Foundation for the Study of Cycle, and my name is Lars. And today we have another weekly session on cycle analysis. And this weekly session is dedicated to market data. That's why we call it also the market report. So we want to teach and learn something on cycles, and therefore we will use the current data sets we have, go over some cycle analysis, and that's the purpose of the 20 minutes we are using here all together. Thanks for joining. I often receive some questions about when I go through the data sets and show some cycles, which tools we are using. So we are purely using what is available to all members of the Foundation for the Study of Cycles. So I'm using nothing else, just the pure basic version. So if you want to repeat what we're doing here and sharing here, you are invited to become a member of the Foundation. We are a non-profit organization, and with your membership, sorry for that, you also support our work here at the Foundation. And then we can continue on that. And this session, yes, you see it on the screen. We celebrate 80 years of the Foundation for the Study of Cycles. Isn't it something? So that's also why in January we have some fireworks coming around. So we are very pleased, and January will come with a lot of new topics around the corner. At the end of this session, I will have some save the date information for you. So stay until the end, because in January a lot of topics will happen, and we are proud to present a lot of stuff to you. Okay, so always make sure you have the chat open. I will have an eye on the chat section so we can get into an interactive mode. And at the end of the session, I try to review the main questions. And even if we end the stream, to say this upfront, and I've not been able to answer all your questions in the chat section, I will stay online for the chat even after we've closed the video. So this is also a bonus if you are live, and I hope you will join the live session, because this offers you the chance to get your questions on. So I'm here sitting live at my desk here in Hamburg doing the session live, non-scripted. This is not a pre-recorded session. So therefore, this is a good chance for you to reach out to me and the Foundation to bring your questions on board. You know, it's always not easy to reach to us via email and get some answers. Yes. Market session, cycles report weekly. The first topic we will always do let's review some data sets, what's happening here. I mean, we are starting the new year. What you always do when starting a new year is thinking about how to prepare for 2021. So what could the cycles show us for the year which is now coming? If you have followed the session last week, I started off explaining the sentiment analysis while using some special data set. And I showed you how you can use this data to prepare for a year in advance. And I showed you how to do this for 2020. So let's start off and just roll it over to 2021. And therefore, and you also requested this, I shared this slide with you in the last session, and you can review the session if you want to get into it. We will do this now for the next year. So this was the forecast for 2020, and I shared how the turning points here turned out. So, but one thing, if you have watched this session, you see there's also a kind of prediction for 2021. So if you see this low here, which was predicted over a year ago, you see that the sentiment cycles, which have been used here, so this is the special financial stress index here, which has been used from the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. And please go to the last week's session on that to share the details on that. This showed a financial stress low somewhere in the beginning of this year, and sentiment financial stress low are in alignment with market tops. But let's roll over and now go to our cycle analyzer, bringing this topic here into the into next year. So what I've opened here now is our cycle analyzer, which is available to all members which are part of the foundation. So if you want to know how to use this, just become a member and you will be able to do exactly the same what I'm doing here. So I have loaded this data set here in the right hand corner, the St. Louis Federal Reserve Bank stress index on weekly data. Maybe you have done this work already on your own because I shared this last week, but let's now use it on current data sets. So the last data point here is end of December, a week ago. This is updated weekly. We check the spectrum, which we'll get here, and there's one cycle outstanding here, and the other ones are then joining here. So what I've rolled over is that you see a year ago, the key cycle detected on top of the list was the cycle with the length of 31's weeks. Yeah, a year ago. You see this cycle is still active even a year after the analysis which I shared last week a year ago. It's maybe not on the top of this list here right now, but you see it's right ranked here at top number 3. So I would recommend to continue with this cycle, because this is also important. Maybe not only using the simple one on top. If you see cycles continuously showing up in the top 3, top 5, or even whatever ranking, then it is a high indication that you should use this kind of cycle or include this cycle in your composite forecast here, even if it's not the top one. If it consistently shows up on your analysis, because this is a static analysis based on last week's data, this is a very good indication. Therefore, I just continue. You see the cycle with a length of 31 is still in the top 3 of our list. So let's now do a forecast for the year to come, which is now shown here on the chart. So what we see here now is the simple financial stress sentiment forecast for 2021, using the same cycle which was active a year ago. And I would pay attention to the first turning points here. So never treat the static forecast alone for just a full year. But you see indicating this major high here in January. It's not up to the point on a daily basis, but in January. This might also explain why on the daily cycle basis, if you're following this channel, I've also told you about the daily cycle with a length of 170 something, which has become out of tune or out of sync since mid of November. I think I shared this cycle with you sometimes, and I'd explained that's the mid-cycle point, mid-November, where often cycles might go out of sync, but must not go out of sync. But this is where this daily cycle has been out of sync now. And one answer could be, I also told you there is not one simple answer to explain this behavior, is that there's a longer cycle in place. And I think one comment out of the community also mentioned this down below. So thanks for your comment. So there might be longer term cycles which you always need to take into account if you do this analysis. It might be an explanation that the longer term cycle, and anyhow, if you use the analysis from 1 year ago, which I showed you on the slide and I used in the last week's session, it was the same indication here. So this cycle seems to be very stable again. And what's showing here then, it's an upswing in financial stress. For the market perspective, it would project that the markets might go down if the stress level goes higher here. So this is just rolling over what we have done last week, indicating how to use it now doing it on actual data. And the next topic you always should do before then drilling down into daily cycle analysis, use the weekly data also on the main index, to do your analysis before now moving down into daily data sets. So therefore, you know how to do it. Go to the dashboard. We will use the S&P 500 here. Click to the index, and maybe just to explain how to get weekly data. If you just open it from the dashboard, you will see the daily data set, which is mainly used in this case. But there's a little trick to get the weekly data. So I will just open the chart here. So if you use the data set from Yahoo Finance, where we provide a wrapper, and you just use this symbology here, you can pull up any symbol from Yahoo Finance. So just look up the symbol there. And if you want to chart it in a weekly fashion, just add the -W at the end of this index. And then this will pull up then weekly data. This is now using weekly data on the S&P 500 here. So you see it's using daily data as of today, so it's updated by today. We have a lot of historical data available here which can be used, so there's a lot of history available here. I have set the starting point for this analysis, just to explain how I set the starting point here, at the high in November 68. I mean, if you have this long history of data here, I would not recommend use all history. I think these are over 4,000 weeks of data. This is too much for signal processing. It might be good on averaging. So therefore, I always pick a kind of key high or low in the past to start the cycle analysis with. Even 200 bars here, so over 200 weeks of data from 1968 to today is maybe anyhow very long data, but as we're dealing with weekly data, that's okay. So this is used for the spectrum analysis. So as you always know, we scroll down to the spectrum chart here and look now. At least I first look for where do we have clear peaks from the visual perspective in the spectrogram feature here. They're showing two peaks up here, one with a length of 181, 101 weeks, and a very long cycle with a length of 382 weeks here. Always pay attention to the Bartle score, which is green, which is good, and the size of the triangle, which indicates of strength. So these two peaks here give a kind of starting point for the analysis now dealing with this data set here. You also see that in the upper list here, shown on the screen, that the cycle with 181, which I showed you just down below here in the spectrum plot, is showing here on top number 3, ranked by strength. Yeah, so this would be a clear starting point here to get the analysis started with this cycle here. So I've activated this cycle, and you see how the weekly cycle now looks from the S&P on a weekly data set. You can check the historical situation here, so it picks the tops and lows here. You see there might be some larger cycle also in place, so maybe it might be useful to activate this one here, so the 382 cycle, which is listed here, to build a composite just using these two cycles here. Yeah, and what I'm always looking at, if I add more cycles to the composite, if the key turning points will change or not. So you can play with it. So you see that the key turning point is somewhere here in, starting this year. And if you disable the longer term cycle, it still stays the same. I mean, the composite format will change, but the overall key turning points will stay the same. So this is, therefore, it's not of real importance if you add these two or not, but from an historical point of view, it will look much more cleaner to align it with the past. So you see these two cycles clearly are aligned with the past market behavior here. So what we are interested in is a kind of forecast for the year to come, which does not look very promising, just looking at this weekly cycle here. But the point to make is here, and this is what I want to share. We have now done two weekly analysis here. One weekly analysis on the sentiment stress index. So you remember I used the Federal Reserve financial stress index, showing here the low in January, corresponding to a market high. And I use the weekly data on the S&P 500. This one here, which is in alignment. So I mean, not on the day, but the top is here projected for end of December. The financial stress index somewhere in January. So both longer term projections speak a clear message. I leave it up to you to read this message. But that's now to prepare for the year to come. This gives you a longer term perspective, and now you can roll over to shorter term cycles. So, and the starting point to do this is go over to the dashboard, click, for example, to the index section, and now you will see the daily cycles. Once you have a picture on the weekly cycles, and if the weekly cycles from different data sets come into alignment, that's the point to jump on the next lower time frame, which is daily. And just to close this session here, to not go shoot over length here, is what's interesting, and this is why we organize the dashboard in the way you see it here. If you have a look at the length setting here, you see that it looks like a new kind of cycle or dominant cycle is forming here. Yeah, so this one picks the most dominant cycle here in the dashboard, so it automatically tries to pick the ones with the best strength, battle score, and length settings from the scanner just on this page here. And if you see that different data sets show the same dominant cycle, yeah, so and it doesn't matter if it's exactly the same in length. Here 116, 118, 120. The length setting now, the cycles come into alignment from different data sets. And the phase, yeah, that's the second topic you should look at. The phase of these three cycles, this is just the written form of the mathematical cycle phase. You know, the phase is a mathematical score, but we made it readable. So top departure means that from a theoretical sine wave cycle, that this cycle has now crossed the top and arrived at the top of a classical sine wave and is now rolling over to the next bottom. So it shows the next pivot is 55 days ago. And the interesting point is here that the length and the cycle phase on these three markets here come into alignment. Yeah, and the last point I want to make is you see that it looks like another dominant cycle is forming. If you remember when I talked about the main cycles in the markets last year, it was the length of 170 something. And you always might remember that this cycle has been out of sync since mid of November. So now, and this is a kind of transition phase, so it shows you anyhow that this cycle might not be the dominant cycle anymore. This dashboard now indicates as a starting point, it might be the case that the new dominant cycle has shifted the length towards 120 something. And it seems like on the daily situation, we also have a phase alignment here. And last sentence here, this phase is now also alignment with the weekly cycles. So and this is how it goes. So I mean, you can do this with commodities, with forex, with cryptocurrencies. I think this session is a little bit to explain how to do it, and I think we did it now on the main markets. Let me have a quick look on your questions to see. I think something rushed in. About the dominant cycle box, there's the question. So please explain the dominant cycle box and why don't you always chart the dominant with active cycles you choose? Okay, so let's get back to whatever here, S&P 500. And the key question is around this dominant cycle box here, shown a little bit here. This is what you're referring to. And yeah, it might be a little bit irritating that this cycle might not be exactly the same. So this shows 118 and this shows here 112 and maybe here's the 118. So first point to make, it's a slightly different algorithm. So the dominant cycle is not using all the history, with what the standard cycle scanner is using here. So it tries to tweak more to the current past than to the whole data set which has been used in the cycle analysis. So it's just slightly adjusting the history which has been used for the analysis. If you want to bring both into alignment, you could set the Cycle Explorer, which is used here, to the full in-sample range. And if I update this shows now 42, and it's now in alignment, at least with the second one here on top. Yeah, because it's picking now. Okay, so if you want to have it in alignment with the scanner, do the following. Go to Configuration, go to the Cycle I will make it a little bit larger. Go to the Cycle Explorer setting here and change the method selection from dynamic to full in-sample range. Full in-sample range means it's using the exact same approach as the spectrum analysis, which I'm mainly using here. So by just switching this to full, don't touch anything else, update it. So the dominant cycle, which is picked here, it's the one just purely on this list. It had this threshold level for the Bartels score. So you might ask why it's not picking the 75 here, which is top listed here. But you see the 75 has a very low Bartels score here. So therefore this is skipped. I think we can also see this in the configuration. If we go back to the configuration and you see the dominant cycle settings, and there's a Bartel limit offset of 49. So this one is not using cycles with a low Bartels score. So this is why this dominant cycle picks the one with a length of 42, because this is then the second ranked or the highest ranked cycle with the highest Bartels score. And now you have both lists in alignment. So this hopefully explains a little bit what's the difference between the dominant cycle here. Okay. Yeah, the amplitude. How is the amplitude calculated? So the amplitude is mainly. Let me switch back there. So the amplitude, which you see here in the list. I would not pay too much attention to the amplitude because this is the amplitude here, no? Because you see it's anyhow dynamically aligned and it's used as an overlay. But the relative amplitude, so the peak here shows also the amplitude. So this amplitude is 100 something. So the epsilon axis here shows the amplitude also. But how's it calculated? Yes, it's done by the Fourier digital signal processing analyst, which gives you for every cycle the amplitude, and it's the average amplitude over the data set used. That's right. So what's the n? How many bars are used? So your question was how many bars have been used for the average amplitude. This is what is shown here in the. Sorry, it's here in the in-sample section, yeah. And if you see this line here below the cycle model build and what I've highlighted here, so it depends on the in-sample range you select here. And if I want to just make it bigger, this is the so-called in-sample period, and this is the number of n bars used for the analysis building the average here. Okay, if you want to fine-tune our cycle entry points, are there reliable cycles on smaller time frame, like 3 hours, and are these cycles observable? Yes, it works also on minute or hourly charts, and yes, that's exactly the right approach. Start with the higher time frames, so weekly, daily, and then maybe 8 hours, 4 hours, or 2 hour charts. You could do this. The only point I need to make is you need to be careful when you use intraday data sets, because there's much more noise involved in intraday data. So therefore, there are also a lot of more false cycles detected if you use intraday data. So I would, if you are familiar with this approach and cycle analysis, what I share here, and know how to read it and how to select the cycles here, then you can drill down into intraday data sets. You need to upload it. So we don't provide automatically functions to use intraday data, but there is a way in the, if you go to the dashboard and my dataset sections here, you can upload datasets, and you can upload intraday datasets, and then you can do the same analysis for 2 hour charts. But I would not recommend go to minute charts. Stay maybe on 2 hour charts. Okay, lots of questions coming in, but let me try. I like these questions, and they're very, very important. Weekly silver, I think maybe next time, or share your analysis on silver, and then we can update next week. Superimpose the weekly cycle on the daily cycle. So an overlay, if you have done your higher time frame analysis that you charted, that's a very good idea, and it was or it's a feature we need to bring in. So it's not possible yet, but Fred, thanks for your question, and I will take this into account. Right now, it's not possible, so that's the simple answer to your question. But we need to provide this, and I will take it on the features to come list here. When you see the 120 cycle as dominant, are those calendar days or trading days? Yeah, this is also a good question. What we use here is trading days, excluding weekends. Yeah, so this is how the data is provided. It's not really pre-processed. The only topic which is added here is that we have some pre-processing here which allows to fill missing weekdays. Yeah, so if there's a holiday during the week, it will pre-fill the missing days within the week, but it will not pre-fill weekends. So it's more trading days. We will also update an option to do this for calendar days, but it's trading days right here. A ratio. Yeah, not yet. So we just provide the wrapper to use raw Yahoo data. Or if you have more information on what you want to do with this ratio, maybe you can elaborate on your question a little bit. But Emma, Russell divided by the Nasdaq. Okay, sorry for now I got it. Yeah, it was also requested from other users. Right now it's not here, so you cannot put in mathematical formulas, which kind of is a pre-processing for it. But as I said, also for the other one, the overlay with weekly data, I will take the ratio or to put a mathematical formula and pre-processing in here, because it's also important for other analysis, but not now, not yet. Overlay the dominant cycles of different data sets on the same chart. So I think this is similar question what you have, or what Fred requested with the superimpose the weekly cycle on the daily chart. So same answer here. Right now it's not possible. I mean, but we will take this overlay topic into account. But maybe maybe thanks for your great questions, and continue to do, and maybe I will even stay here after we close the video session. We are running now for half an hour. But another topic I want to share with you from the scanner perspective is you can, if maybe you're not aware of that, you can save these workbook and this analysis, or for example what I did here on the which one was it? Yeah, this here, this financial sentiment weekly data. You know, these little icons here on the top, yeah, which is the camera or the snapshot icon. This allows you to save this data set. So it's not just a picture. Yeah, if we click this icon here, it's called snapshot, but it's much more than just a snapshot. So first of all, it makes a picture of this analysis, and you can use this this URL here to download this picture or to share this picture on social media. So feel free to share your analysis on social media channels like Facebook, Twitter, wherever. We are happy to share this data set. You just need to use this link. But the other topic is that also now the full analysis is saved in your workbooks. Yeah, and this is now important, because if you go to your settings page, there is the so-called My Workbooks area, and this is much more than just the snapshot. You see here now this is what I have saved now, and you can recall and load again these data sets here. So they are sorted by symbol. Yeah, this is what I've taken just now here. It's saved. It shows you which cycles have been used in the composite. It shows you which in-sample period you have used for this analysis. And if you want to go back to your analysis, yeah, maybe new data is rushing in, maybe in 1 or 2 months, you want to revisit this analysis, you can not only reopen the picture, which is what is called Snap here, you can completely open the workbook again. So if you click on Open Workbook, it will bring you back to exactly this point in time in the past with this workbook. So you can then continue, and if new data has coming in, it will be shown as light blue data here. Or if I just use a data set which has been saved so this data set has been saved in May. If I click Open Workbook, you see it was this workbook was done in May, and new data is now added, but in light blue. So it keeps your analysis of the cycle analysis and the composite you have selected, so that you can revisit all your workbooks and load it back again. So maybe if you're not aware of this. And yes, you can share your analysis from someone else. Emma, very good question. So thanks for bringing this up, because sharing workbooks is as simple as just sharing the URL which has been used here. So the procedure, if you want to share your workbook with someone else, is the following. First, do your analysis. So for example, let's do it here. So I did this analysis. Where have I been? I did this analysis today. Sorry for switching. I think this, no, not this one. I did this one here, yeah? And saved this analysis today. So now I want to share this workbook with you in the community. I go open workbook, yeah, click just open workbook. This will bring me to the analysis, and please watch out for the URL shown in your browser. Yeah, I will again make it big, and you can copy and paste the full URL, yeah, which is shown here on top. I will just copy it, mark it, and copy it, and I will copy it now into the chat section so that you can. It's too long to share it here in the chat. But if you do this on your own, I cannot share, but because it's too long, yeah, it's too much text to share in a chat. But let me copy this to a slide here, because I think this is very helpful for you all. If we just make a new slide. Make it black. So this is live, just bear with me. So here is the full link. It's a very long link, but this, you can share this via email. Sorry, so this is the link now. Let's make it big again. Oh, sorry, and I have to switch my screen here. So this is the link which you've seen in the browser by just copy and pasting the URL from the browser, and you can share this URL with anyone. So just send it out via email to a friend or colleague. I mean, you need to have an account or need to be a member of the FSC to share this account here, but then it works. Okay, not to get into too much details here. So that's just your questions and answers. But before we end now, I really need to make a point, because as I said, we are celebrating 80 years of the Foundation for the Study of Cycle, and there will come some fireworks in January. The first thing is this 16th January, we will have a Science Cycle Summit by our board member, Ray Thoms, which is orchestrating these events, and we will share a lot of science-related stuff, yeah, for the analysis of cycles. So Ray is a legend in cycle analysis, especially in the area of science to this topic. So if you have not heard about it, save the date. All the sessions will be shared here on this YouTube live channel. So just get back to this channel on January the 16th. There are a lot of sessions and videos which will show up. Second topic, right after it, the week following the science event, we will again broadcast another market forecast summit. You might remember that summer last year, yeah, we hosted a similar event where every night we had two speakers presenting some cycle analysis on financial markets. So that's the difference. The first event is on the science of cycles, and please visit our blog where you see all the speaker lineup and the topics, which is really great. And then the week afterwards, we will broadcast and host again the final topic. Yes, the Cycles magazine will get back to you in January. And last but not least, if you're not aware of our Dewey Award, if you know someone who has written something on cycles, we are hosting a yearly Cycles Award, and by end of January, we will think about what papers have been presented us. So if you know someone, if you have written a paper, please send it in. We want to share this content, and we want to get out the award here. Okay, yes, I will stay in the chat section now if you want to discuss something. I think it was a very interesting topic, and thanks for your questions. And I really want to encourage you, please join our live session because I like your questions. I like the interactive topics. I hope you took something out of this session for today. It was really fun last year. I'm really looking forward to the year to come with the foundation, and I hope we will see us next week, Monday, this time again live on this channel. And I wish everyone a happy 2021. Let's see what the cycles will bring us this year. See you next week. Bye.